Let me say something that might surprise you. Most women don't fall for the man who tries the hardest. We fall for the man who understands us the deepest. That's the truth nobody tells you. You've probably been taught to chase, to impress, to constantly prove your worth. But here's the twist. The women you actually want are watching something very different. How you work with her emotions, not just your efforts. This isn't about manipulation. This is about understanding female psychology and using that insight to draw women in, naturally, powerfully, and in a way that sticks. Because when you know how to move a woman emotionally, when you know what gets inside her mind and stays there, she won't just be interested. She'll be hooked, obsessed, and not in a crazy toxic way. In a way where she sees you as the man she's been waiting for. You see, women are emotionally driven. We fall in love based on how a man makes us feel, not just how he looks or what he owns. If you know how to push the right buttons, calmly, confidently, and without looking like you're even trying, you become unforgettable. That's what this is about. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through 7 powerful psychological tricks. Things women respond to without even realizing why. I'm speaking to you as a woman who's been through it, who's watched other women fall hard, and who knows exactly what gets under our skin in the best way. By the time you finish this, you'll understand why certain guys can effortlessly draw women in, and how you can do it too, without changing who you are or chasing anyone. Let's start with the 7 tricks you need to master. 1. Be the mirror that reflects her best self. If you really want a woman to feel obsessed with you, and I mean emotionally attached in a way she doesn't fully understand, you have to learn how to reflect her back to herself in a way that makes her feel seen, validated, and emotionally safe. Here's what I mean. Every woman walks around with a certain version of herself in her head. Sometimes it's confident, sometimes it's insecure. Sometimes it's powerful, sometimes it's soft and emotional. What she's craving, whether she knows it or not, is a man who can see the real her beneath all that, and then reflect back the parts she secretly wants to believe about herself. She might not say it out loud, but deep down she's thinking, am I beautiful in his eyes even when I'm a mess? Does he respect my mind or just my looks? Can I be vulnerable and still be desired? When a man shows her, through how he looks at her, talks to her, listens to her, that he sees the best version of her, the woman she wants to be, that's when she starts attaching, emotionally, psychologically, sometimes even physically. It's not about constant compliments. That actually turns most women off if it's overdone. It's about being intentional. When she's passionate about something, you let her know it's sexy to see her in that zone. When she's soft, you don't judge it. You appreciate the intimacy of it. When she doubts herself, you don't fix her. You remind her of who she already is. Here's the psychological part. When a woman starts seeing herself through your eyes, and what she sees is powerful, feminine, desired, she subconsciously starts seeking more of that reflection. She wants to be around you more, open up more, connect more. Why? Because you make her feel more like herself. And that's addictive. The guys who fail here are the ones who either try too hard to impress her or ignore who she really is. The guy who wins, he's the one who can lock eyes with her in a way that says, I see you, the real you, and I like it. You don't even need to say much. It's your energy, your presence, your attunement. The more she feels that emotional reflection from you, the more she feels safe. And safety to a woman equals desire. It's counterintuitive, but when she feels safe being herself, she gets addicted to being around you. So you want her obsessed? Stop trying to show her who you are. Start showing her who she is all out when she's with you. That's the first psychological hook. 2. Emotional tension is your silent weapon. If you've ever wondered why women seem to chase the guys who aren't overly eager, it's not because they like games. It's because those men naturally create emotional tension, and tension is what keeps a woman engaged on a psychological level. Let me explain it in the simplest way. Certainty is safe, but tension is addictive. When a woman knows exactly how you feel about her, where the connection is going, and that she has you no matter what. She might feel flattered, but she won't feel obsessed. Obsession grows in the space between what she knows and what she feels. It's that sweet spot where she's emotionally pulled in, but she's not quite sure why. She's attracted, curious, and slightly unsettled, in a good way. Most guys destroy this naturally by trying too hard to prove themselves. They text too much, explain their feelings too soon, chase without pause. What they don't realize is, when you remove all mystery, you remove all pull. On the flip side, the man who knows how to hold back just enough, who flirts, connects, but keeps his own inner world a little guarded, makes a woman lean in. He's not cold, but he's not overly available either. He doesn't give her emotional validation every 5 minutes, and that's exactly why she keeps coming back for it. This doesn't mean playing games. This means you know how to sit in the silence, hold eye contact, and let the moment build without jumping to fill the space. That's tension, that's masculine energy, that's what keeps a woman thinking about you when you're not around. Think about this. If every time she feels a little vulnerable or unsure, you immediately reassure her and solve it, you've just killed the very tension that made her desire you in the first place. But if you can meet her emotions with calm confidence, not rushing to rescue or over-explain, she starts to see you as emotionally grounded. And that creates the kind of mysterious safety that makes her obsessed. It's rare, it's powerful, and it speaks to something primal inside her. Also, let her wonder about you. You don't need to tell her everything about your day, your feelings, your schedule. Women are drawn to a man whose life feels full. A man she wants to be invited into, not a man who dumps every thought on her the second he has it. Tension isn't cruelty, it's restraint. It's knowing your value enough not to hand it all over on a silver platter. And when a woman senses that subtle tension in how you carry yourself, she can't help but want to resolve it, by getting closer to you, by chasing that emotional payoff. And that's when the obsession begins. 3. Detachment that feels unshakable. Let's talk about something that women don't say out loud, but every woman feels it on a deep level. There's a kind of man who walks through life with a calm, steady presence. He's not emotionally thrown off by what people say. He doesn't need approval. He doesn't get reactive. And that detachment? It's magnetic. Because here's the truth. Most women are used to men who get triggered, men who get jealous, who get insecure if she doesn't text back right away, who try to control the situation when they feel emotionally uncomfortable. And it's exhausting. Not only that, it kills attraction. Now contrast that with the man who doesn't chase after every little emotional shift. He sees what's happening, but he doesn't flinch. He doesn't panic. He doesn't react to testy behavior. That kind of energy makes a woman look at him differently. She starts wondering, why doesn't he get rattled? Why is he so grounded? What's going on in that mind of his? And that curiosity starts growing into fascination. Emotional detachment, when it's healthy, tells a woman, I'm not here to beg for love. I know who I am. I don't need your approval to be valuable. That kind of energy speaks confidence without words. It makes her feel like you've already chosen yourself, and that she has to earn her place in your world. That flips the dynamic completely. This doesn't mean being cold. It doesn't mean acting like you don't care. It means your world doesn't fall apart if she doesn't act how you expected. It means you can see her pull away, and instead of chasing, you pull your energy back without drama. And trust me, that silence, that calm withdrawal, it drives women crazy in the best way. Because it's so rare, it creates space for her to feel her own emotions instead of reacting to yours. And in that space, she starts missing you. She starts thinking about you. She starts realizing you're not like every other man who needs her to validate him constantly. Women are emotional beings. We feel everything deeply, but we don't want to be the ones leading emotionally. We want to feel safe in a man's presence. Not because he's always available, but because he's steady. He's anchored. He knows how to stay connected to himself no matter what we do. If you want to make a woman obsessed, don't try to control her. Don't try to predict or chase her feelings. Instead, master your own. Be so deeply secure in who you are that she feels it without you needing to say a word. That's emotional leadership. And whether she admits it or not, every woman craves that kind of man. 4. Subtle tension that builds desire. This is one of the most overlooked dynamics in attraction, but it's also one of the most powerful. And it's something most men never learn how to use. Tension. That slow, subtle build-up that makes a woman feel something she can't quite name, but can't stop thinking about. See, most men either go too soft or too aggressive. Either they're overly nice and predictable, giving away their interest too fast, or they push too hard, trying to impress or escalate things too quickly. Both extremes kill desire. Why? Because neither one creates tension, and feminine energy thrives on tension. We're drawn to mystery, anticipation, and the space between the moment we want something and the moment we actually get it. That space is where obsession starts to build. You don't need to play games, you need to understand the dance. When you lock eyes with a woman and hold that eye contact just a second longer than usual, you've created tension. When you say something bold and then let silence hang in the air, that's tension. When you take your time instead of rushing in, when you give her your attention and then pull it back just slightly, not to punish her but to let her feel the shift, you're creating a charge. Tension isn't about withholding, it's about pacing. You're giving her time to imagine, time to crave, time to wonder what you'll do next. Most guys kill that by giving everything up front. The compliments, the intentions, the chase, all laid out too early. But a woman doesn't become obsessed with a man she can figure out in one night. She becomes obsessed with the man who lingers in her mind, because she doesn't have it all yet. This is why slowing things down works in your favor. Take your time when you speak. Don't rush the conversation. Let her fill the silence. Let her sit in your energy. And when you withdraw your attention, not out of anger, but because you're simply focused on your own path, she starts to chase the connection again. Tension is created through contrast. Sometimes it's warmth, sometimes it's cool, sometimes it's teasing, sometimes it's serious. That unpredictability, when done with calm confidence, keeps her emotionally hooked. She's never quite sure where she stands, and it keeps her invested. Women are emotional creatures, yes, but we're also sensory. We respond to vibe, and tension, when done right, creates a vibe that's unforgettable. She'll start to associate you with that emotional thrill, that anticipation, that pull, and that's how obsession begins. 5. The emotional mirror effect. One of the most powerful psychological tricks to make a woman feel deeply connected to you, even obsessed with you, is something I call the emotional mirror effect. It's simple, but not easy. It's when a man reflects back the emotional state a woman wants to feel in herself, by being the living embodiment of it. Let me explain. We don't just fall for someone because of who they are. We fall because of how we feel when we're around them. Women especially are emotionally driven. If you want her to become addicted to your presence, you need to become the emotional frequency she wants to experience more of. That means embodying peace when she feels overwhelmed, strength when she feels insecure, playfulness when she's overthinking, depth when she feels superficial. You don't fix her mood. You shift the atmosphere by being a grounded reflection of where she wants to go emotionally. And this is how obsession starts. I once knew a man who had this ability. Nothing about him screamed try hard or alpha, but every time I was around him, I felt calm, centered. It was like his energy reminded me of who I was at my best. He didn't chase, he didn't explain himself, he just was. If I was flustered, he slowed the conversation. If I acted like I didn't care, he didn't react. He let me feel my own chaos, and then stabilized the room without ever telling me to calm down. That created emotional gravity. women are incredibly sensitive to how a man manages his energy. If you're reactive, nervous, too eager to please, it throws off our internal compass. But when a man holds his emotional ground, we start to orbit around it. Not because we're weak, but because it feels safe, rare, grounding. And we keep coming back because it makes us feel more like us. So how do you use this? Start paying attention to how women feel around you. Not what they say, but how they behave. Do they seem more open, more playful? Do they relax? Do they reflect your vibe back to you? If not, something's off in your energy. Obsession doesn't come from trying to be someone else. It comes from being so emotionally stable and present that she feels herself more clearly around you, like she's returning home to a version of herself she forgot. When a woman gets addicted to how she feels in your presence, not just what you do or say, that's when she stops thinking about other men. That's when your energy becomes her emotional drug. And that mirror effect, that's a trick most men never learn to master. 6. Silent signals. Speak loudest. There's a certain kind of psychological power that most men overlook, and it's the one that actually does the most damage, in a good way. It's not what you say, it's not what you text, it's not the compliments or the plans or the late night conversations, it's what you don't say. See, women are wired to pick up on subtle cues. We're not just listening to your words, we're tuned into the spaces between them, the silence, the tension, the confidence you carry when you're not performing for us. So here's the truth. If you want a woman to become obsessed with you, stop over-communicating. Stop explaining yourself. Stop trying to prove you're worth it. That kind of energy comes across as insecure, and insecurity repels obsession. What triggers obsession is mystery, paired with grounded presence. It's the guy who doesn't rush to fill every silence. The guy who lets a moment sit, who can look at you and say nothing, and yet make you feel everything. That's rare, that's unforgettable. That's the energy we keep thinking about when we're alone. You know why? Because silence gives women space to project. And when she starts projecting, she's not just thinking about you, she's filling in the blanks with her own fantasy, her own emotion, her own curiosity. And when a woman's mind starts filling in those blanks, she becomes emotionally involved, even if she doesn't want to be. This is why emotional restraint is so powerful. When you're calm, measured, and a little unpredictable, it messes with our rhythm. Most guys talk too much, joke too much, ask too many questions. But the man who can sit back, observe, smile slightly, and say nothing, he gets in our head. He becomes the puzzle we want to solve. And yes, that takes discipline. It takes emotional control. But that restraint is what separates men who are remembered from men who are just nice. So if you're wondering why certain women feel lukewarm around you, it might be because you're giving them too much. You're not giving them space to lean in, to wonder, to fantasize. And without that, there's no spark of obsession, just polite comfort. Pull back the verbal energy. Use your presence instead. Let your silence say what your words never could. Because when a woman feels that kind of still masculine intensity, she doesn't forget it. 7. Confidence isn't loud. It's felt alright. I want to be real with you here. Because most men think they're showing confidence, when what they're actually doing is trying to convince women that they're confident. There's a difference. And we feel it instantly. See, a lot of guys make the mistake of overcompensating. They show off, they talk big, they dominate conversations, they act like they're unfazed. But if a man has to prove he's confident, he's already lost the game. Because true confidence isn't something you announce, it's something a woman feels when she's in your presence. And here's what that looks like, from our side. It's the man who can listen without needing to interrupt. The man who doesn't flinch when we test him emotionally. The man who doesn't take things personally, doesn't get rattled, and doesn't try to rush the moment. It's not about being stoic or stone-faced. It's about being calm, sure of yourself, comfortable in your own skin. That kind of energy is magnetic, not because of what you do, but because of what you don't need to do. A confident man doesn't chase approval. He doesn't need validation. He doesn't need a woman to tell him he's valuable, because he already knows, and we notice. We notice when you walk into a room and don't need attention. We notice when you speak slowly and with purpose. We notice when you can sit across from us, not perform, not overexpress, not try to charm, and still hold our attention without even trying. You know what that does to a woman's mind? It makes us wonder what's underneath that calm exterior, what you're thinking, what you're not saying. It creates tension, depth, power, and yes, obsession. But if you're constantly trying to prove you're the man, trying to flex, trying to get a reaction out of us, it feels desperate. And desperation repels women, no matter how good you look or how smooth you talk. So here's your wake-up call. Women don't fall for the loudest guy in the room. We fall for the man who knows exactly who he is, even when no one's watching. The man who can handle silence, who doesn't try too hard, who doesn't need us, but still chooses to connect with us from a place of strength, not scarcity. That man, he becomes unforgettable. And that's the version of you I want to see show up in the world. Because when a woman sees him, she won't just notice him, she'll crave him. The man who knows the game doesn't have to play it. Let me leave you with something bold, something most women would never say out loud. The men who know how to influence a woman's mind don't chase her heart. They pull it toward them. Because here's the truth. Attraction isn't about convincing, it's about creating space. Space where a woman starts to think about you, feel curious about you, crave more of you. And that space only exists when you stop doing what every other man does and start showing up as someone she can't quite figure out, someone she feels more than she can explain. You don't need to manipulate her. You don't need to become someone else. But you do need to understand how we work, emotionally, psychologically, energetically. And when you get that, you stop playing defense in dating. You start taking the lead, not with aggression, but with quiet power. So I want to hear from you. Which of these 7 things surprised you the most? Which one do you think you've been missing? Or maybe doing wrong without realizing it? Drop it in the comments. I'll be reading them and I will reply. This space is for men who want to be sharper, smarter, more in control, and finally understand what actually pulls a woman in, deep. I respect that you're here, and I respect that you want to do it right. Talk soon.